Some existed before existence itself, beings who witnessed the birth of creation and will be there for its end. The gods of the fourth world, the angels of the Silver City. Comic book universes are teeming with ancient entities. These beings are not myth, they're reality. Join us as we unravel ancient superheroes more powerful than you think, Part 2. Starting things off with the Endless. A group of 7 immortal beings are as vast and timeless as the universe itself. Their existence transcends both space and time, making them akin to the very fabric of reality. While some readers might perceive them as existing outside the DC multiverse, the acclaimed series Sandman and its associated titles firmly anchor them within the main DC continuity. In fact, even iconic characters like Superman were shown attending Dream's funeral near the end of the series, underscoring their integral role within the DC universe. Delving into the Age of the Endless is a fascinating endeavor. Destiny, the keeper of all destinies, has existed for as long as anything, as everything is etched in his book. However, the existence of multiple universes, as exemplified by the Fourth World, raises questions about whether Destiny and the Endless predate them. The concept of destiny emerged at the dawn of time, but it's highly likely that destiny existed in some form even before time itself began. Destiny and the Endless are undoubtedly among the oldest forces in the universe, having emerged alongside them. Their existence alongside these ancient powers grants them the top spot in the rankings as the oldest characters in the DC universe. The Endless are not merely ancient, they are eternal. They have witnessed the birth and death of countless universes, and their influence extends far beyond the mortal realm. They are the guardians of dreams, desires, death, destiny, and other fundamental aspects of existence. Their stories are intertwined with the history of the DC universe, and their impact on the multiverse is immeasurable. The One Above All stands as the supreme being in the Marvel universe, an entity so profoundly powerful and enigmatic that it eludes complete comprehension. He is often considered the ultimate creator, the architect of all realities, existing outside the boundaries of time and space as we understand them. His age is immeasurable, predating the very concept of existence itself. To illustrate the sheer scale of his power, consider the living tribunal. This cosmic entity, a being of immense power who judges the entirety of the multiverse, is but a servant to the One Above All. The tribunal, a tripartite being composed of eternity, infinity, and death, maintains balance across countless dimensions. Yet even this godlike figure bows before the One Above All, acknowledging his ultimate authority. Mark Waid, during his influential run on the Fantastic Four, first introduced this omnipotent being to the Marvel Universe. In a moment of meta-textual brilliance, the One Above All appeared in the form of Jack Kirby, the legendary artist who co-created the Fantastic Four and shaped the visual landscape of Marvel Comics. This was not just a clever nod to a comics icon, it was a symbolic representation of the One Above All's role as the ultimate creator, mirroring the real-world creation of the Marvel Universe by Kirby and his collaborators. The One Above All, however, is not merely a distant creator. He has, on rare occasions, intervened in the affairs of the multiverse, often in subtle ways that reveal his compassion and understanding. He has offered guidance to lost souls, provided solace to the grieving, and even resurrected heroes when the fate of reality hung in the balance. These instances, though infrequent, highlight his benevolent nature and his profound connection to all living things. Etrigan the Demon, a character whose origins intertwine with the very fabric of the universe. In the celestial realm known as the Silver City, where angels under God's guidance devised the blueprint for the cosmos, Lucifer, the most radiant of them all, learned of the impending arrival of humanity and mortal life. A spark of dissent ignited within Lucifer's heart, leading him to question God's plans and incite a rebellion against his authority. Etrigan, a powerful demon, was among the angels who heeded Lucifer's call, aligning himself with the rebellious forces. The ensuing conflict between the angels and Lucifer's followers was a cataclysmic event, resulting in the expulsion of those who sided with the rebellious leader. Etrigan, along with his fellow rebels, was banished to the depths of hell, where he was transformed into a rhymer, a figure of immense power within the infernal hierarchy. In the depths of hell, Etrigan's destiny intertwined with that of a human named Jason Blood, a knight who had been summoned to the underworld to confront a demonic threat. A bond formed between the two, granting Jason the ability to transform into Etrigan when he uttered a specific incantation. This symbiotic relationship transformed Etrigan from a mere demon to a hero, a champion of good who fought against evil on Earth. Etrigan's existence as a hero, however, was not without its complexities. While he battled against evil on Earth, he remained a creature of hell, tormented by the souls of the damned. This duality of his nature created an intriguing juxtaposition, where he was both a savior and a monster, a hero and a villain. The Living Tribunal stands as a monumental figure in the vast cosmic hierarchy of Marvel Comics, a being of immense power and authority who oversees the delicate balance of the entire multiverse. Conceived by the creative triumvirate of Stan Lee, Marie Severin, and Herb Trimpe, the Living Tribunal predates much of the Marvel Universe, his existence intertwined with the very fabric of reality. Functioning as a cosmic judge and arbiter, the Living Tribunal's role is akin to that of the Watchers, but on an infinitely grander scale. While the Watchers observe and record events within a single universe, the Living Tribunal's jurisdiction extends across all realities, ensuring that no single universe gains dominance over others and that the cosmic balance is maintained. His distinctive three-faced visage, each face representing a different aspect of his being, equity, vengeance, and necessity, reflects his multifaceted role in safeguarding the multiverse. The front face, representing equity, judges with impartiality, while the partially obscured face on the right, vengeance, ensures that transgressions against the cosmic order are met with appropriate consequences. The fully covered face on the left, necessity, embodies the inevitable course of events, even those that may seem harsh or unjust. The Living Tribunal's origins lie in the dawn of creation, his existence predating the formation of stars, galaxies, and even the very concept of time itself. He has witnessed the birth and death of countless universes, the rise and fall of civilizations beyond mortal comprehension. His age, measured in billions of years, is merely a pale reflection of his timeless nature. The Fourth World, a realm beyond the conventional boundaries of time and space within, is home to the New Gods, a pantheon of powerful beings who embody the eternal struggle between good and evil. Created by the legendary Jack Kirby, these characters, including the noble Orion and the escape artist Mr. Miracle, represent the pinnacle of his creative genius. The genesis of the New Gods lies in the destruction of the Third World, a realm inhabited by ancient deities. From the ashes of this cataclysm arose two distinct worlds: New Genesis, a verdant paradise brimming with life and harmony, and Apocalypse, a fiery hellscape ruled by the iron fist of Darkseid. The New Gods, born from these contrasting worlds, inherited the mantle of their predecessors, becoming the new guardians of the cosmos. However, the precise timeline of their emergence remains shrouded in mystery. Are they older than the Presence, the enigmatic entity often regarded as the DC Universe's equivalent of God? Did they precede the angels who dwell in the Silver City? The answers to these questions remain elusive, as the New Gods exist outside the conventional flow of time, making it difficult to pinpoint their exact age. And in the final spot we have the Spectre. A figure of awe-inspiring power and divine wrath, stands as the embodiment of God's vengeance in the DC universe. While most familiar as the spectral force that bonded with Detective Jim Corrigan in the 1930s, the Spectre's origins stretch back to the dawn of creation, his existence intertwined with the celestial drama that unfolded in the Silver City. Before he was the Spectre, he was Astar, an angel residing in the luminescent realm where angels crafted the cosmos under the guidance of the Presence. When Lucifer, the morning star, ignited a rebellion against the divine order, Astar was among those who succumbed to the allure of defiance. Cast out of heaven alongside the fallen angels, Astar's fate took a dramatic turn when the rogue angel Eclipso incurred the wrath of the Presence. It was then that Astar was transformed into the Spectre, the embodiment of divine vengeance. Tasked with delivering punishment upon the wicked, angels, as beings of divine creation, predate much of existence. While not the oldest beings in the cosmos, they stand among the most ancient, their origins lost in the mists of time. The Spectre, born from this ancient lineage, has been a recurring force in the universe, his presence felt across eons. The Spectre's modus operandi involves merging with a human soul, using their body as a vessel to carry out his divine mission. While Jim Corrigan is perhaps the most well-known of these hosts, he is but one in a long line of individuals who have been bonded with the spirit of vengeance. He is a figure of immense power, yet also one of profound tragedy, forever bound to carry out the will of the Presence, even when it conflicts with his own sense of morality.
A lot of people know the Phoenix Force, but not as many know about the Enigma Force. The Enigma Force is another source of cosmic power, but this one was basically crafted to be the opposite of the darkness in the cosmos, which was made manifest by the god of darkness, the king in black, ruler and god of all symbiotes. No. This entity is so old it is believed to have come into existence around the same time as the universe, having been around since Null first also came into being. You might recognize this entity more as the hero Captain Universe from Marvel Comics, but even then I feel like Captain Planet is still more easily recognizable than Captain Universe would be. When I say Captain, I mean who first comes to your mind? For me it's definitely Captain Planet, or maybe Captain America? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. The Enigma Force is somewhat different than the Phoenix Force in the sense that it typically takes hold of a host for a shorter period of time, instead choosing to merge with a being simply for the purpose of handling a single universal threat, and then usually leaving that host after the crisis has been averted. Up next, we're moving from the cosmic to the supernatural. Vampire is Andrew Bennett. Andrew Bennett hails from DC Comics, and he's considered obscure or niche enough that if you actually just Google his name, Andrew Bennett, without anything else in that search field, this man comes up instead of this man. Who is Andrew Bennett? He's not that other guy, I'll tell you that much. He is basically a vampire who is a superhero. If you're familiar with the Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles, the novels, you could think of him as a superhero version of Lestat, basically. That's kind of what he is. Sometimes he teams up with other heroes to take on threats, but he also has a lot of his own vampire politics to deal with most of the time. Life ain't easy being a vampire. Now, while some people aren't as maybe Googleable, Artemis is possibly the most well-known of these least well-known characters on our list, but at the same time there are probably still a ton of folks out there who really only know Wonder Woman and maybe her mother Hippolyta when it comes to the Wonder Woman mythos and family, the Amazons. Artemis is not a family member per se, but she is one of the Amazons of Themiscyra. For a while she even took up the mantle of Wonder Woman herself. She's used that alias before. She's been a long-standing rival to Wonder Woman, and although she tends to have a more brutal approach that sometimes makes her more of an antagonist in stories, she currently is more of a hero or anti-hero at the time of this recording in the comics. The Darkness is something completely different. This character is not from either Marvel or DC Comics, but instead is from the pages of Top Cow. Top Cow Productions is Mark Silvestri's baby. It's an imprint of Image Comics. It has its own universe and its own line, with tons of newer and older comics in terms of the different series that it carries. There is A Man Among Ye and Sunstone, some of the newer stuff, and also Witchblade and Cyberforce, some of the older stuff. Like Cyberforce and Witchblade, The Darkness is also an older series and an older character, both in terms of comic book history and in terms of canon history. If you've heard of Witchblade, The Darkness is another character that very much is based in that world. The Darkness and Witchblade go together like peanut butter and jelly. Like the Witchblade, The Darkness is an entity that takes a host and is passed down through the generations. As such, it's supremely ancient, with its most well-known host in the comics being Jackie Estacado in the historical modern era. But if you want a really metal Darkness story, you can actually head all the way back to the days of ancient Rome or even the Vikings to see what the Darkness was up to in the comics. Because yeah, there was a Darkness at those times too. Darkness in general is pretty metal, I feel like. Zealot is another character that is more outside of the mainstream when it comes to comics, which is honestly where I like to go for lists like this. Never before seen being interpreted often for me as, you know, not one of the greatest superheroes of the big two. That is the big two publishers of DC Comics and Marvel, just so you know what I'm talking about when I say that. That being said, Zealot is technically from DC Comics at this point in time, but not originally. Originally she actually hailed from the indie publisher known as Wildstorm. That was Jim Lee's comic publishing baby that he made when he got tired of larger publishers keeping all the rights for everything that their creatives had ever made for themselves. However, DC later would actually offer to buy Wildstorm, and Lee would agree. So now Wildstorm is a DC imprint and universe, so back into the big two it goes. And Jim Lee, of course, is pretty permanently back with DC Comics and has been for some time now. Zealot is an original member of Wildcats and is actually currently serving on the Birds of Prey team in the comics. Kind of fun. Zealot is Xana, an alien from the planet Kara who has lived for thousands of years, so she really old. She ancient. Not all mutants are from the modern day. Take a look at this next hero. Exodus is a super old mutant from Marvel Comics. For most of his life, he was in a stasis, so that's probably why you didn't see him around throughout all of history. Initially, Exodus was more of a villain in the comics, at least somewhat, and I'm sure he'll go back to being a villain at some point again. But during the Krakoan period of X-Men, there haven't actually been a ton of true mutant villains. This is because all the mutants decided to band together as one nation, working together for the greater good of mutant kind, all part of Krakoa or Arakko, as opposed to fighting against one another. So, save for a few, most mutants, even the ones that are villainous normally, have been acting as heroes. If you're wondering how old Exodus is, he was around during the 12th century and actually fought in the Crusades, being known then as the noble Grand Duke Bennett du Paris. During his travels, he ran into Apocalypse and was chosen to become his champion. And even back then, Exodus had kind of a sense of heroic valiance about him. When Apocalypse attempted to pit Exodus against his friend, another ancient Marvel hero, the Black Knight, you may have heard of him, Exodus refused to fight him and instead turned on Apocalypse. Back again to the Wonder Woman mythos. Nubia is another character that is not well known from that, I would say, group of heroes. And what's even more surprising to me is that I actually thought Artemis might be lesser known than Nubia, but it turns out that Artemis is likely even more well known considering that she's actually made overall more comic book appearances, whereas Nubia, despite being a literal, sometimes sister to Wonder Woman, depending on her origin story, and more recently Queen of the Amazons, has not appeared as often, which surprises me, but here we are. Nubia, like Wonder Woman and Artemis, is also considered to be ancient. Her current origin in the Prime Earth continuity had her as an ancient princess who was actually reborn from the Well of Souls after her death, becoming the Amazonian warrior Nubia. Nubia was the last to actually be born from the Well of Souls and was born around the same time as Diana in the current main continuity. So in that version of the story, they grow up together and that kind of gives them that sisterly bond. The next one might surprise a lot of folks out there. Who is Angela? Well, although she originated in the pages of Image's Spawn, she is actually now Thor's long-lost sister. Wait, what? Okay, so here's the story. Angela was initially a Hellspawn hunter from the pages of Spawn comics. While Spawn technically gets his powers from Hell, Angela kind of works on behalf of Heaven in the war against Heaven and Hell, so that's kind of how that goes, and as such, she therefore hunts down people like Spawn. Hellspawn, that is. She was created by Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane, but there was an issue with that. The issue of who really owned this character, who had those creating rights. Well, Gaiman had made her for Spawn while working for Todd. McFarlane later claimed to own the rights solely to her character, and that's where things got rough between these two. The two entered a legal battle with Gaiman fighting to prove that he actually also had rights to Angela as a co-creator. The court sided with him, and money also had to be determined for how much Gaiman was owed based on how much money had been made by the use of this character that he co-created. During this time, Gaiman decided to bring Angela over to Marvel and even wrote 1602 for Marvel Comics just to help cover his legal costs. He actually dedicated 1602 to Todd, and I quote, for making it necessary. Angela, when she came over to Marvel, ended up after 1602 being incorporated into the main continuity, where she became the long-lost angelic sister of the god and superhero Thor. Up next, Shining Knight is a hero I didn't even know about before writing this this video for you guys. I love when I learn something new and then I get to share it with you all, whether that's something I've read or something I found through my own research. It honestly feels really special to me to share stuff like that with you. Shining Knight is basically like what would happen if Captain America was a medieval knight instead of like a World War II super soldier war hero. Shining Knight hails from DC Comics though, he's not from Marvel, just to be clear. He was initially a hero in the 6th century who was frozen for centuries before emerging once more in what we'd consider to be Captain America's original era actually, the 1940s. During his time as a hero in the 1940s, he was known as a member of the All-Star Squadron and the Seven Soldiers of Victory. So yeah, like I said, basically Captain America, but like what if he was a medieval knight? I love it. Finally, we have Agamotto. For those who are unfamiliar, Agamotto is the Sorcerer Supreme, or he was a Sorcerer Supreme. Anyways, while he has acted as an antagonist to the current Sorcerer Supreme Stephen Strange in the past, initially Agamotto himself was a protector of Earth and a hero, way back in the past. He even served on the Avengers, or rather, the prehistoric Avengers that is, the Avengers of 1 million BCE.
Starting off with Gabriel Shepherd, the most powerful mutant, kind of. He is the most powerful of his genre of mutants, which is proto-mutants. This group of people had the gene that eventually evolved into the mutant gene found in the X-Men today. Only a few hundred proto-mutants existed, and big surprise, Gabriel is the last of them. He looked the most human. So, Gabriel allied with the X-Men, but then picked a fight because he discovered that the other proto-mutants had been getting revived to be used as weapons. Gabriel was so mad about this, he literally disappeared into pure energy. Goals, I guess? He returned later to help the X-Men take down Lady Deathstrike. Gabriel might as well be an Omega level mutant. He has lived a very long time and he will live forever. He is strong, he can generate electricity, fly, hear everything, including your thoughts. His telepathic abilities can reach over vast distances, but if you wanted to Uno reverse and use telepathy on him, no such luck. He can throw up some pretty solid mental shields. Goodness knows he's had the time to practice. If you annoy him enough, he might just turn you into a tree using his transmutation abilities, but he's a good guy, so you're probably safe. And finally, he can also stop time, but that's only been shown for a radius of about 500 meters as of right now. Nobody's perfect. Up next is Vision, but not the one you might be thinking of. I'm talking about the original Arcus Destroyer of Evil. This immortal hero debuted in Marvel Mystery Comics 13 and then disappeared for a long time. He was supposed to join the Avengers, but Stan Lee wanted the next member to be an android, so Avengers writer Roy Thomas created Vision. He named him the same thing and took inspiration from the OG's appearance and mysterious backstory, creating the more popular version of Vision that we now know today. The original is making a comeback though, and it's well deserved. This hero is underutilized considering how powerful he is, but that might have to do with an interesting weakness. He can teleport anywhere at all. The only catch is there must be smoke or gas or vapor present. Literally like a magician puffing away in a cloud of smoke. He has powers over gases and things like that. He can use them for transport, but manipulate them and make them solid. But that isn't all he can do. Among the usual enhancements like extreme speed and strength, he's almost impossible to hurt. Nothing can poison him, nothing can seriously pierce his body, he can breathe anywhere. He can also fly, project mental images, make himself appear human, freeze things by touch, and temporarily mind control people. No one knows when this hero was born, but the official Marvel handbook says that he is at least centuries old. Tumazuma, the Native American god of kinship and storytelling, has appeared a few times over the years, and not all of the appearances are considered equal. In some of them, he is the all-powerful, thousands of years old god that can easily lift 25 tons and strike fear into all those he faces, but then in some appearances, he's actually a robot. An oil company built a robot version of the ancient god in order to scare an indigenous group off their land so they could drill for oil. This version of the god shot fire from his hands, concussive beams from his eyes, and can lift up to 100 tons. No matter which version of the character we're looking at, he's pretty powerful. Lacy Lorraine has survived living hundreds of years in the vacuum of space, and she has since retired to a simple life of working in a remote gas station in Montana. I mean, if I were left in space for a couple hundred years, I too wouldn't mind spending the next few centuries with my feet on solid ground with a steady line of work. Lacy was born in ancient Greece and discovered on the day of a major surgery that her body was indestructible. She crossed the universe to try and get that surgery of a device that might be able to do the trick. The problem was it was guarded by a celestial, and it wasn't until she was blasted with all its force that Lacy and those she traveled with realized the device was already stolen. She spent the next 100 years floating through space until she was rescued, and now she lives the quiet life as a gas station attendant and mechanic with a neat story. Teryn's birth was prophesized billions of years before she was born, and when she finally did arrive, she more than delivered. Teryn was said to be the designate, the being that would help sentient beings evolve to the next level. She started her hero's journey after meeting Thor. She admired him and decided to become Thor Girl. She got her own hammer, and it is quite similar to Thor's. It helps her fly and fire concentrated energy blasts. As the designate, Teryn was immortal and was capable of manipulating cosmic energy. That can manifest in various ways, like energy blasts, or illusions, or shapeshifting, even becoming all-knowing. But she has a pretty unique power. This is directly from Thor Volume 2, Issue 25. If her tears touch evil, unprotected by the Stone of Illumination, then it will literally burn it. In this case, the it was Thanos. She has been referred to as unstoppable, and Thor even once considered her powers to rival his father Odin's. For the rare few of you that are not familiar with the Silver Surfer's game, please consider this a quick introductory. This hero is considered one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, and there are a lot of powerful things out there. Also, dermatologists hate him. He's literally centuries old, but he doesn't look a day over 30. As a herald of Galactus, Silver Surfer was imbued with the power cosmic, aka the source of unlimited cosmic energy. That comes with all the expected bells and whistles in regards to making sure he can physically do the job of being a herald to Galactus, but it helps him with the mental work too. Concepts and rules of the universe that would normally make the average human brain collapse in on itself are light work to Surfer. He can handle being aware of the entire universe. Silver Surfer does surf on his board, it would be weird if he didn't, but he doesn't require the board to fly, as he can propel himself, or if he really wants to, he could just teleport. He's accessed the astral plane and destroyed souls, messed with the foundations of nature, gravity, weather, water, light, and there is literally so much more. There is a reason the Silver Surfer is a fan favorite character. But time for some Canadian representation. Snowbird, my queen, is an Inuit demigod whose main power is shapeshifting into any animals native to northern Canada, but she can perform many other impressive feats as well. Her other powers include flight, super strength, and the ability to see the past, up to 6 hours. She is skilled in hand-to-hand combat, having been trained by none other than Alberta-born hero Wolverine. This is already so Canadian, but we're about to add even more maple syrup to the mix. Snowbird is the daughter of the goddess of the Northern Lights, an immortal man. She was bound to Canadian land so she could take on a human form to be the voice of gods on Earth. But this means that if she leaves Canada, she gets weaker. Snowbird's day-to-day identity is Anne Mackenzie, an RCMP officer. Snowbird at this point has been released from her earthly tether and is offered a place among the gods, but refuses to go unless her child and husband can come with her. It took some persuasion, but the gods eventually agreed, and we get a rare happily ever after. I mean, it doesn't last forever, but she had it for a little while. Early in the Marvel Earth history, a bunch of gods had turned evil and were being terrible, and eventually, somebody had to put a stop to it all. Enter Atum, the God Eater, son of Gaia, Mother Earth, and the Demiurge, the planet's life force. Atum was brought in to put an end to the gods consuming each other and turning demonic, and he did this by consuming all the evil gods and then turning partially demonic. So like, he kind of did the job, but at what cost? Good thing, the good side of him still had morals and didn't want to let the evil consume him. He flew up into the atmosphere to fix himself up before heading back home to the sun. He got all the evil elder gods except 2, Set and Chthon, but they were banished to other realms, so he did still finish the job. Set and Atum did go head to head again a bit later over the dinosaurs. Gaia had plans to stop sustaining dinosaurs and instead get to work on mammals. Set, who had bonded with the dinos, didn't like that idea and picked a fight. Gaia called in her son to finish it. This massive battle is what, in the Marvel Universe anyways, caused the dinosaurs to go extinct. I love Marvel history, it is so entertaining. Set returns to his dimension and Atum to the sun. The next time he returns to Earth, he takes on a new name, that being Ra, and then eventually Ra the sun god from Egyptian mythology. Our most unique and technically incomplete path to godhood today belongs to Alexander Aaron, son of Ares. His mother was a mortal woman, which would typically make someone a demigod. However, Alexander was born mortal. Ares turned his back on the gods to raise his son normally, much to Zeus's annoyance, as the Olympians needed the war god to help with the impending fight with the Japanese god of evil. To get Ares back, Zeus kidnapped Alexander as leverage, but before Ares could get him back, Alex was kidnapped a second time by none other than the Japanese god of evil. Ares was a major player in the fight after this. Alexander's godly side was awakened when the Japanese god gave him some of his life force to drink. He brainwashed Alexander and hit him against his father. Zeus was able to clear Alexander's brainwashed state, but by that point Alex had already seriously harmed his dad in battle and woke up to Ares at his feet. It was tragic, but luckily Ares is a god, so he was reborn in no time. At this point, with his godhood awakened, Alex is sought out by Nick Fury, and this is when he finds out that he will become the next god of fear. This comes with a pretty cool set of powers. He can tell what everyone's greatest fear is and use his eyes to place that fear in your head. And he can also see the future now, just as like a fun little extra. And finally, the best for last because I'm a cat person. The Egyptian lion goddess has two modes, Hathor, the peaceful, playful goddess of love, and Sekhmet, the violent war goddess. So she might seem all cute and cuddly, but she can and will demolish you. She acted as a warrior to the sun god Ra whenever the people of Egypt would try to rebel against him. Her war goddess side, once unleashed, is pretty hard to control. Once she was unleashed on Egypt and slayed half the population before Ra had to step in, the only way to get her to stop was to trick her into drinking large quantities of inebriating drinks that Ra dyed red. The hope and successful outcome was that the war goddess would see the red and, thinking it was humans red, drink herself unconscious, giving her brain time to settle back into the love goddess. Sekhmet is capable of a male form, but it requires a human host.
Coming in at number 10 today is the Silver Surfer. The Surfer was originally Norrin Rad, an astronomer from the planet Zen-La. When Rad discovered that Galactus, the devourer of worlds, had come to devour Zen-La's life force, Rad struck a deal with the cosmic entity to seek out uninhabited planets that Galactus could consume. Eventually, Galactus became aware of Earth, our little green planet, and he set out to make it his next meal. The Surfer arrived just in time to warn the Fantastic Four of Galactus' arrival, which was his initial reveal into the universe of Marvel Comics in Fantastic Four number 48 to number 50. And that started a great relationship between the Surfer and the superhero family. The Silver Surfer's adventures often center on philosophical conundrums as much as physical challenges, and Stan Lee has used the Surfer as a vessel to express some of the writer's own worldviews. But why is he on the list of ancient heroes? Well, we don't actually have a specific birth year for Norrin Rad, but the Silver Surfer himself has stated that it has been a millennia since he was first transformed by Galactus, and he was a mature member of his species when that happened. And that species is a long-lived one, so it's very safe to say that the Silver Surfer is quite old indeed. Number 9. Mystique. To some of us humans, hundreds of years ago feels just as ancient as millions of years ago. Maybe. The Marvel mutant known as Mystique, while you wouldn't think it, has stated that she was not born in the last century and that she's actually over 100 years old. Mystique has a very complex and unrevealed origin. Like Marvel started by introducing her and have only given us brief moments where she has shown up in the timeline prior to that. So, this point is more so cobbling together various things she and others has said that point to her being quite freaking old. Mystique has been known to be with her wife, Destiny, by 1895, and she stated that, quote, "Solitude was my natural state for 100 years, which basically implies that she was born before 1800. In 1921, she met Logan in Kansas City and they all worked together in Scotland shortly before World War II, but in an early appearance in Uncanny X-Men number 170, Mystique dreamt that she was in the year 1783, which is specified as being 170 years before her birth. As the comic was published in 1983, this would make her 30 years old at the time of the story, but that has since been retconned. So as I said, it's a little convoluted. Despite the fact that it is unknown when exactly she was born, it can be assumed that Mystique was born in the month of September, because apparently her birthstone is a sapphire. Twinning. While she might not be as ancient as others on this list, she is still much older than you think and an incredibly hard mutant to bring down. Number 8. Nabu. Dr. Fate is one of the most powerful magic users in DC Comics, but funnily enough, Dr. Fate is just a name used by the wearers of the Helmet of Fate, which was created by the powerful sorcerer Nabu. Nabu is actually billions of years old as one of the cosmic beings known as the Lords of Order. They came into being at the beginning of the universe and struggled with the Lords of Chaos for supremacy. The Lords of Order actually manifested themselves as the first sentient race in the universe, but it wasn't until 3500 BC, in Earth years, that one of the Lords of Order descended to Earth and became Nabu the Wise, an advisor to the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. In the New 52 continuity, he is a bit more human and credited as one of the first discoverers of magic, but regardless, after years and years and years serving pharaohs, Nabu did eventually, quote, pass on, or it's more so that his physical body could no longer contain him and so his spirit was absorbed into magical items, mainly the Helmet of Fate, allowing him to live on through it and whoever puts the helmet on their head. Number 7. The Wizard. Mamaragan, or the Wizard, or just Shazam's origin story is deeply rooted in ancient mysticism and magic. He was an ancient wizard who once belonged to an order known as the Council of Eternity, sworn to safeguard the realms from supernatural threats. Thousands Thousands of years ago, during the days of ancient Egypt, Mamaragan was granted incredible magical powers tied to the 6 gods of Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. As the wielder of the magic word Shazam, Mamaragan could channel the combined abilities of the 6 figures, bestowing those powers upon a worthy champion. However, when his first champion, Teth Atum, aka Black Atum, fell to darkness, Mamaragan sealed the powers away for centuries. In the modern era, Mamaragan's essence endured, choosing the young Billy Batson as his new champion. When Billy utters the word Shazam, he transforms into the superhero Shazam, embodying the collective powers that Mamaragan once held. Mamaragan's origin story is a tapestry of ancient magic, responsibility, and the passing of the torch to a new generation of heroes who carry his legacy in the form of Shazam. He was a hero, but has kind of become something much more important. Number 6. Hercules. Hercules is the son of Zeus, Skyfather and supreme ruler of the gods of Olympus, and Alcmena, a mortal woman who lived over 3,000 years ago. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, arranged for her father Zeus to have a half-mortal son to be the world's champion. Zeus seduced the mortal queen Alcmena, pretending to be her husband, King Amphitryon, I think is how you pronounce that, and Alcmena gave birth to the baby Hercules. Now, as an adult demigod in ancient Greece, Hercules achieved worldwide fame as he became the greatest hero of the ancient world, best known for his 12 labors. As the Olympian god of strength as well, Hercules' strength is unlimited, making him one of the strongest and most powerful heroes in the Marvel universe. As an infant, he was breastfed by his stepmother, Hera, queen of the Olympian gods, which increased his already demigod physiology to a godlike level. Hercules possesses the superhuman physical attributes of an Olympian god, but interestingly, some of his powers are superior to the vast majority of his own race. Most recently though, he is a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but he has also been a part of the Avengers, the God Squad, the Council of Godheads, the Mighty Avengers, the Secret Avengers, the Defenders, the Heroes for Hire, and of course, S.H.I.E.L.D. Number 5. Anthro. Created by Howard Post, Anthro is considered the first boy on Earth, existing in prehistoric times. He lived with his family during a period when the world was still in its primal stages. Anthro's curiosity and adaptability drove him to explore the challenges and mysteries of a world populated by both primitive creatures and nascent human tribes. Through his adventures, Anthro unwittingly played a significant role in shaping humanity's development and survival, often making use of his ingenuity and courage to overcome obstacles, while also being a part of some modern-age stories thanks to time travel. He's popped up in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Armageddon 2001, Zero Hour, Team 13, and Final Crisis, and he's even been to the Marvel Universe where he interacted with Devil Dinosaur. Anthro's narrative explores the struggle for survival, the emergence of intelligence, and the foundation of human civilization. His story reflects the essence of human curiosity, resilience, and the quest for progress, serving as a symbol of humanity's earliest steps into the unknown. His powers are, well, pretty much non-existent, but he has played a part in some big events and in more than just a background kind of way. Number 4. The Ancient One. Born over 1,000 years ago, the Ancient One, otherwise known as Yao, was a local to the Tibetan ancient city of Kamar-Taj. Under the guidance of the mystic sorcerer Kalu, Yao delved into the ancient arts of magic and arcane wisdom, eventually surpassing and even facing his mentor. After facing his mentor, granting himself long life, and fighting alongside sorcerer supremes throughout time, he sought out an order of ancient magic users known as the Ancient Ones in order to devote his entire life to their goal of combating evil sorcerers. The youth eventually became even more skilled than his colleagues though, and grew in power so great that he was the first mortal ever of Earth to meet with Eternity, the sentient embodiment of the universe, who presented him with the amulet of Agamotto and charged him to become their Earth's Dimension's Sorcerer Supreme. After spending a ton of time trying to sculpt a successor and having multiple possible choices, Yao eventually passed on and left the Sorcerer Supreme mantle to Dr. Stephen Strange. Number 3. I, Vampire. Vampires in DC Comics are practically indestructible and can regenerate any damage done by consuming blood. They have superhuman strength, speed, reflexes, stamina, can transform into bats, wolves, rats, and mist, and have enhanced senses and a bit of psychokinesis. But despite that, they do have some major weaknesses that pretty much everyone is aware of, with a big one being the frickin' sun, unless they can find a way to temporarily make themselves immune. But For I, vampire, otherwise known as Andrew Bennett, the former 16th century English nobleman in Queen Elizabeth's court, he has a peculiar ability to eventually automatically revive himself after he is sent to the grave, even if he becomes a pile of ashes from the sun. He has even survived the end of the universe. I don't know how that's possible. The ability is a bit of a mystery even to Bennett himself. When he survived the end of the universe, it was at the will of the presence, leaving some to believe that this may be true in all cases, but that's not actually confirmed. Whatever the reason, it has allowed him to survive as a heroic vegetarian vampire all the way until the modern day. Number 2, Dream. The Endless, featured in DC's Sandman story, is a group of 7 siblings. Death, destiny, despair, desire, delirium, destruction, and the focus of our point today, Dream. These siblings represent fundamental aspects and forces of the Vertigo/DC universe, and they are all immortal, ageless, and nigh omnipotent. The parents of the Endless were revealed to be the embodiment of Time, father of the Endless, and Night, the embodiment of the infinite darkness that existed before the dawn of the universe, and the mother of the Endless. So, it's safe to say that these beings are probably pretty ancient. Like 10 billion years ancient. They came from the beginning of the universe. As for Dream, or Morpheus, he isn't so much a superhero as we are used to, but he is an extremely powerful, reluctant hero, and his journey to that status from emotionless god to a being displaying very human-like emotions and characteristics is the fundamental story of the Sandman. Dream dwells in a realm called the Dreaming, from where he controlled the fundamental concept of fantasy and reality in the universe, as the line between the waking world and the dreams is quite thin. And in at number 1 today, it's Hippolyta. This queen's history begins thousands of years ago, around 1300 BC. The Greek pantheon held a meeting convened by the goddesses. They were discussing the creation of a race of humans that would champion their ideals. The male gods, including Zeus and Ares, did not seem interested in this, and Hera did not wish to go against her husband. So it was left to the other primary female Greek goddesses. They decided to travel into the underworld, where they came upon the Well of Souls, where the souls of all the women murdered by men's hatred were gathered together. The goddesses took these souls and went and dropped them into a lake in Greece. The souls mixed with the clay and the stone of the lake bed to form the Amazons, and the first one to emerge from the waters was Hippolyta. The goddesses appointed Hippolyta, or Hippolyta, however you want to pronounce it, to be queen, and they decreed that the Amazons were to spread the message of peace, tolerance, and equality by being super dope warriors. Yes, Wonder Woman is also pretty ancient too, but Mama came first, so here we are.
At number 10, we have ancient Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider on a freaking mammoth? Are you kidding me? Back when Earth was an untamed land inhabited by tribes of cavemen, the young boy who would become the first Ghost Rider was brilliant among his pack, but he kept this to himself, fearing isolation. One day, a strange man confronts the tribe, swiftly becoming the leader of their pack through violent means, and eventually revealing himself to be a Wendigo before devouring the entire tribe, save for the young boy. Before the Wendigo leaves, he names the boy Ghost and challenges the boy to find him. With everyone he'd ever known gone, Ghost ventures beyond his cave, deciding that if the stranger could survive out there in the world, so could he. Ghost then embarks on a quest to survive and find his newfound adversary. Alone in a new turbulent environment, Ghost nearly succumbs to exhaustion, but at that moment he's approached by a talking serpent who bestows upon Ghost the spirit of vengeance as a means of achieving his goal, transforming him into the very first Ghost Rider. Fast forward 5 years and the stage is set for a showdown. Ghost, on the back of a flaming mammoth, confronts the Wendigo, engaging in a battle that ends with the Wendigo pushing Ghost atop the mammoth off a cliff, a fall that only the rider would survive. Alone once more, the Ghost was approached by Odin and Lady Phoenix, who would ask him to join the prehistoric Avengers. By the way, if Ghost Rider on a mammoth isn't cool enough for you, then try the Ghost Rider of the Hyborian Age about 990,000 years later, when the Ghost Rider of that era rode a giant spider. The Spider Rider would go on to confront Conan the Barbarian, and while we don't know how that showdown ends, you can definitely bet it would be a battle of the ages. Well, the Hyborian Age specifically. And speaking of which...
Number 9. Conan the Barbarian. Conan was born on a carnage-strewn battlefield in the hills of the westernmost region of Cimmeria, all the way back in the Hyborian Age, aka around 13 to 10,000 BC. The fact that Conan was born on a battlefield was considered to be an omen that Conan would grow up to be a great warrior one day. And Conan was one of the most accomplished swordsmen of the Hyborian Age. He has unusually high strength, agility, and speed for a human, superhuman, he has lifted immense objects or enemies, even using his bare hands to bring down a raging bull when he was still relatively young. It's said that he has the strength equivalent of 10 to 20 men. More often than not though, Conan relies upon his lightning-fast reflexes in combat situations, and they've very rarely failed him. On top of that, he has a massive level of durability, and through years of dealing with sorcerers, magicians, and witches, he has even developed a moderate level of resistance to magic and mind control spells. Conan is a master warrior. He has a hardy survival instinct, is a master of stealth, and is multilingual. While primarily known as a wandering sellsword, Conan progressively became a master tactician, leading entire armies into battle, and eventually, Conan even became king of Aquilonia, wherever that is, and also eventually a hero interacting with the heroes of the modern day.
If you're enjoying the videos so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. Moving on to number 8, we have Odin Borson. Wait, did any of you guys know that the Allfather's last name is Borson? Just me? Okay. Odin, born from the union of Bor, the son of Buri, and Besla, a giantess, emerged alongside his brothers Kul, Vilai, and Vis. I definitely butchered that, I'm so sorry. Together, these divine siblings embarked on a cosmic odyssey that would reshape reality itself. They dared to challenge Ymir the Frost Giant, forging the very fabric of the cosmos and existence itself from Ymir's remains. Asgard, the celestial realm, blossomed from the remnants of Ymir, becoming the abode of gods in the heart of their dominion. Yet Odin's exploits were not limited to creation alone. One day, a sentient and all-powerful storm known as the God Tempest threatened the sanctity of Asgard. Odin, as mighty as the storm was, stood resolute against its fury, and with a display of power that echoed through the cosmos, Odin quelled the Tempest, imprisoning its essence within a fragment of Uru, which would one day become the legendary Mjolnir, a symbol of power and worthiness. Sometime after forging Mjolnir, but long before the birth of Thor, Odin descended upon Midgard, then known as Aesheim, where he bestowed upon the world the gift of humanity. However, even the god's benevolence can be tempered with enigmatic purpose. Bor, his father, was not entirely pleased with Odin's creation, casting upon humanity the mantle of suffering. As eons swept by, Odin's saga intertwined with the Stone Age. See, Mjolnir proved difficult to wield, leading Odin to forge an alliance with mystically empowered prehistoric humans. Together they united as the Stone Age Avengers, the guardians of Earth's fragile yet flourishing existence.
Number 7, the Immortal. Due to an accident that happened approximately 3,000 years ago, the man who became Invincible's Immortal was exposed to an unknown anomaly that gave him superhuman abilities that put him almost on par with Viltrumites, making him one of 3 known beings in the universe that can make that claim. But outside of his incredible strength, speed, durability, stamina, and flight powers, the Immortal is, you guessed it, immortal, able to regenerate at an insanely fast rate, regrowing limbs and organs, not needing food, water, or oxygen to survive, and being immune to all poisons, toxins, venoms, viruses, bacteria, parasites, pathogens, and allergens. However, funnily enough, there is a way to, quote, kill him. If the Immortal's head is separated from his torso, it needs to be manually reattached for his healing factor to activate. But despite that, even when they aren't attached, he still remains perfectly preserved until the reattachment happens. He's been around for so long that he has been a knight, possibly under King Arthur as Lancelot, an explorer under or possibly as Christopher Columbus in the Spanish Armada. He fought in the American Revolution, became president of the United States by taking the alias of this guy you may know called Abraham Lincoln, and he fought as a soldier in the First World War. In the 1930s is when he officially became a superhero and more recently became a member of the Guardians of the Globe.
At number 6 is Phoenix. We begin with an abandoned infant named Firehair left to her own devices at a place aptly named the Burnt Place. It wasn't a cozy nursery, mind you, but a clearing where xenophobic tribes tried to sacrifice anyone who manifested appearances which strayed from their norm, in this case the child's red hair. The abandoned infant found herself being raised by an unlikely family, a pack of wolves. Wolves! The original guardians of the forest. Perhaps a canine paw father is what every superhero needs. One fateful day, Firehair's solitude was interrupted by a floating man who conversed through thoughts. No need for that pesky small talk. This floating mentor, which Firehair fondly dubbed as the High Walker, introduced her to a congregation of adopted mutants called the Tribe Without Fear, offering refuge and training. Fast forward, and Firehair's psychic abilities awakened just in time to sound the alarm about an impending attack from the xenophobes from earlier. As the High Walker faced off against the invading tribes, tribesmen, Firehair's psyche is overwhelmed by the storm of human emotion. Sadly, the High Walker meets his end while trying to calm her. Firehair fainted as her fellow pupils gave into rage and fought the attacking tribesmen, resulting in the demise of everyone present save for herself. Firehair blamed herself for her mentor and friend's demise and was overcome with despair, contemplating turning her powers on herself to unalive herself, returning to the burnt place to be eaten by buzzards. As she lay awaiting her demise, the Phoenix Force, an ancient cosmic entity with a penchant for turning planets into cinder who had created the burnt place when it first arrived on Earth, bonds with Firehair, having been drawn to her raw and untapped psychic power. Consumed by a vengeful rage, Firehair almost gave in to the bloodlust and became a dark phoenix, but she was pacified thanks to the one who had saved her as an infant, her paw father, if you will. From that day forward, she would take a page out of the wolf playbook and decide to protect the weak rather than lay waste to the universe. Realizing the threat that beings such as herself pose to the integrity of Earth, she began assembling a team of supernatural and mystically augmented heroes to protect the nation's humanity from both outside threats and themselves, and thus founding the Avengers of the Stone Age.
Number 5. Exodus. Grand Duke Bennett du Perry was a 12th century nobleman from medieval France in Marvel Comics. Does that count as ancient? I don't know anyone who's around then, so I'm taking it and running with it. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing, because I'm just an image on your screen. As an adult, Bennett was a crusader for the Knights Templar sent to Jerusalem during the Crusades, and he even became best friends with Eobar Garrington, aka the Black Knight of that era. The two had set out on a quest to find the Tower of Power, which is a stupid name, when his abilities manifested after an encounter with the Phoenix Force, which were then improved further thanks to the mutant apocalypse. But thanks to Big Blue, Exodus was trapped in a tomb until the modern day, when he was awoken by Magneto and joined his cause. Exodus is one of the most powerful psionic mutants in existence, with such a pristine use of telekinesis and telepathy that he can even alter electrons and molecules. His power is so strong that Marvel even had to debuff him by making his powers dependent on his or others' level of faith in this mutant, although he still regularly kicks some serious butt.
At number 4 is Agamotto. Now, speaking of ancient superheroes, let's uncover a figure whose power and influence might just leave you spellbound. No, he's not your everyday magician pulling rabbits out of hats. We're talking about the cosmic conjurer who would give Doctor Strange a run for his money. Imagine being tutored by a deity, Oshurdur no less, the literal elder goddess of Earth. But Agamotto wasn't just a student, he went on to become Earth's very first sorcerer supreme. Agamotto would go on to face cosmic threats like the Fallen, and yes, even Dormammu, which he thwarted alongside the Stone Age Avengers. Now let's talk artifacts. The legend of Agamotto was like an Indiana Jones fever dream, as he'd created magical treasures that would make a dragon's hoard look like pocket change. First off, we got the eyes, that's right, eyes, plural, of Agamotto. You might remember one of those as the pendant in Doctor Strange's possession that guards the Time Stone. Well, Agamotto made not one, not two, but 3 of them bad boys. But their intended purpose wasn't meant to guard Infinity Stones or serve as reading glasses. These peepers could pierce through dimensions, unlocking knowledge that could make Google's search engine blush. Ever heard of the Book of Vishanti? Yup, that was Agamotto's brainchild too, an enchanted book that's like Wikipedia but for spells. Agamotto went from being a mere mortal sorcerer supreme to being a bona fide higher being, a principality. Essentially, imagine a being so magically advanced that you become a go-to power source for other sorcerers, sort of like being the neighborhood electrician for the mystical realm. So there you have it, Agamotto, the ancient superhero who wasn't just reading spells from a dusty book, he was writing them into that dusty book, shaping the very fabric of reality, defending Earth from cosmic threats, and leaving behind a trail of magical breadcrumbs for future sorcerers to follow.
Number 3. Starbrand Vin. The Starbrand itself is an incredible source of power, proven by other people who have wielded it. The bearer of Earth 723's Starbrand used the power to create music that influenced human behavior to the extent that he has unified the people of his world as a single hive mind. Earth 541 is the home of a Starbrand bearer who has conquered his world and installed himself as the head of a benevolent monarchical dictatorship, but like a good one that actually somehow works despite the lack of freedoms. Thing is, what the Starbrand is capable of is dependent on its wielder's imagination. When it first showed up on Earth, it was millions and millions of years ago, coming down with a meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs, but in doing so, it bonded itself to a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is absolutely awesome. After a few millions of years though, that T-Rex had gone belly up, and the Starbrand found a new bearer in the form of a caveman named Vin.
It's
It's just VNN, I don't know why it's pronounced like that. Interestingly though, when Vin came upon the Starbrand and used it to join up with the Avengers 1 million BC, he was actually more analogous to like the Hulk, at least in his looks, and he had a more primitive use of the Starbrand than other future bearers. But he did live on the moon for a bit and helped fight a Celestial, so don't get it twisted, he did more than just punch stuff.
At number 2 is the first Black Panther. Meet Mosi, a member of the Black Panther tribe in the legendary land of Wakanda. Now, he wasn't the first of his tribe to munch on the heart-shaped herb, but he was the first to survive the experience as he caught the attention of a powerful entity known as Bast, the Panther Spirit. And let me tell you folks, that wasn't your ordinary herbal experience. We're in ancient Wakanda after all, not modern Canada. With Bast's blessing, Mosi became the very first Black Panther. Talk about leveling up. It was around this time that Earth was dealing with some cosmic turbulence courtesy of a meteor from the Vega system. The rifts it opened up started inviting all sorts of extraterrestrial nasties like the Brood to the neighborhood. Not one to let his tribe become an all-you-can-eat buffet for these cosmic creeps, Mosi stepped in as Wakanda's defender-in-chief. And guess who else decided to crash the party? None other than Odin Borisson, the Asgardian bigwig himself. Now, Odin wasn't exactly known for tossing around compliments like confetti, but he had to admit he was pretty darn impressed with Mosi's moral moxie. And if that wasn't enough, get this, Mosi was the first person after Odin to ever lift Mjolnir, proving his worthiness during the first encounter with the rest of the Stone Age Avengers. Mosi and his crew sealed away a colossal celestial, saving the day like it was just another Wednesday. They faced off against cosmic villains like Mephisto and Shumagora, making your average supervillain seem about as threatening as a fluffy kitten. But alas, all good things must come to an end. Mosi met his match in a battle against the children of Laufey and Hive, and his sacrifice marked the end of this ancient Avengers era. The team disbanded with Mosi's demise, and also caused the Wakandan people to retreat from the outside world, requesting that the Avengers forget their existence. The nation would then segment into tribes and were not reunited again until the rise of the second Black Panther, Alumo Bashenga.
And finally, in at number 1 today is Mr. Majestic. DC Comics' Mr. Majestic, also known as Magistros, is a character of immense power and capability that often surprises readers with the extent of his abilities. Hailing from an advanced alien race known as the Cherubim, Majestic possesses superhuman strength, speed, and durability that rivals even the mightiest of superheroes. Unlike the lesser cast, however, he is a Cherubim of Imperial blood, meaning he has a host of cosmic tier physical and mental abilities. Majestic has demonstrated the power to manipulate matter and energy at a molecular level, able to discharge any manner of energy he has on hand however he sees fit, rearranging the subatomic structure of objects, or charging his fists with energy to increase his punching strength. Speaking of strength though, he has rearranged most of the planets in the solar system by just pushing them from his own power, and has crushed graphite into diamonds in order to pay for a meal, which those two things are very, very different. On top of all of that though, Majestic is basically Wildstorm's analog for Superman and shares a lot of the same abilities as the Man of Steel. And when interacting with the rest of the DC multiverse, he's considered to be an alternate Earth Superman. Oh, and he makes this list because, being a Cherubim, he is about 10,000 years old.
At number 10 is Hercules. In the realm of ancient legends, Hercules emerges as the ultimate superhero. Born millennia ago to Zeus and Alcmena, his feats defy imagination. At just 1 year old, he strangled serpents sent by Hera, revealing his immense strength. He joined the Agronauts on their quest for the Golden Fleece, but never abandoned the search for his abducted friend Hylas, even at the cost of parting ways with his crew. Hercules possesses demigod-like powers, which includes immunity to aging and disease, tirelessness, superhuman strength and agility, and near invulnerability. Mortal wounds can't claim him unless they're cataclysmic to say the least. Armed with a golden mace and other legendary weapons, he's a master of combat with the legendary reputation for romance and revelry. And with muscles like that, how could you not be a total womanizer? At number 9 is the Parliament of Trees. While the Swamp Thing is a newcomer in the vast DC universe, I mean relatively speaking, he derives his powers from an ancient primordial force known as the Green, or the Parliament of Trees. This force intricately weaves its tendrils through every blade of grass, every towering tree, and all plant life on our planet. But the true marvel lies in the Parliament of Trees, which is a council of former plant elementals whose existence predates humanity by hundreds of millions of years. These beings have witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, outlasting even the mighty dinosaurs. Today they join forces with the Swamp Thing, an earthly avatar, to safeguard the delicate balance of our environment. In this alliance, they prove themselves as ancient superheroes, guardians of a world far older than mankind. mankind itself. If you're enjoying this video so far, you could support this channel by pressing like, subscribing to Top 10 Nerd, and ringing that notification bell. I would really appreciate if you did do all those things. At number 8 is Beowulf. Beowulf is a legendary Geatish king who stands as an enduring ancient superhero. His reign spanned 50 years before a dragon, harboring secrets of the Holy Grail, brought his end. James Allison speculated that his heroic tales, including the dragon battle, were imprinted in our collective memory from a past life encounter with a mysterious worm. By the way, if you're wondering, James Allison is some dude whose power is to see his past incarnations. Anyways, these stories were later transformed into an epic poem, albeit with artistic embellishments, solidifying Beowulf's place among legendary heroes. But according to Marvel Comics, Beowulf actually survived his duel against the dragon and somehow managed to live into the modern age when Beowulf resurfaced as an immortal warrior, engaging in a friendly rivalry with Theseus. He even joined a coalition of warriors led by Hercules to confront new gods seeking to overthrow the old pantheon. Beowulf's timeless saga reminds us that some heroes remain eternally captivating. At number 7 is Nabu the Wise, recommended by Rodney Lindsay 849. Thank you very much for commenting this suggestion. Nabu the Wise is an ancient cosmic entity which arrived on Earth eons ago, aligning with the Lords of Order to combat universal chaos. His essence now resides in the Helmet of Fate, empowering those who take on the mantle of Dr. Fate. Which means that Dr. Fate's origins stretch over 10 billion years, rooted in the eternal struggle between the Lords of Order and Chaos. On the world of Celia, they were the first sentient beings, incarnations of magic. And around 3,500 years BCE, one lord, Nabu, descended to Earth advising Egyptian pharaohs. Nabu's powers forged potent artifacts like the Scarab of Khaefre, hidden for millennia. His greatest creation, the Amulet of Anubis, became a sanctuary for the Lords of Order. During the Ramses' reign, Nabu served as a royal advisor and encountered the Spectre. He also harnessed nth metal from a crashed starship to create the Claw of Horus. Weakened, he entered into a millennia-long trance, awaiting his return to battle. At number 6 is E-Man, who was suggested by Paul Cooper 3611. Thank you very much. E-Man is a peculiar hero born from the cosmic crucible who exemplifies the enduring allure of unconventional superheroes. Created during a bygone era of comics, he pulsates with a distinct charm. You see, E-Man is born out of pure energy, and as E-Man traversed galaxies, absorbing wisdom from the cosmos, eventually he landed on Earth, where he embraced the guise of Alex Tron, with his insignia being a nod to Einstein's famed equation. In a twist of fate, E-Man met Nova Kane, a dancer and scholar who'd soon join him as a radiant partner. Together they faced cosmic threats with powers that defied physics. Energy blast, shapeshifting, guys, the imagination was unbound here. Yet Nova's powers are ebbed and flowed, a testament to their ever-changing narrative. Their adventures weren't complete without Teddy Q, a koala with surprising intellect. Now, although this comic series was short-lived, E-Man has been touted as one of the funniest superheroes of all time. Am I the only one who wants a reboot, but this time with an E-girl at the helm? Just me? At number 5 is Mamaragan, who was also recommended by Rodney Lindsay 849. Thanks again. In the realm of ancient superheroes, the wizard, once a thunder god, stands as an unyielding figure. He joined the mystical circle of eternity, and as the wizard, he punished Earth's transgressors. After Black Adam's devastation, he sought a successor, ultimately choosing Billy Batson. Despite Billy's obviously flawed nature, the wizard saw potential and passed on his powers, creating Shazam, a force of super strength and flight. The wizard's tale illustrates that even in the most ancient of times, new heroes can emerge from unexpected sources. At number 4 are the Eternals. The Eternals were forged by the enigmatic Celestials a million years ago, and they stand as ancient superheroes beyond the grasp of mortality. These extraordinary beings, often lurking in the shadows of humanity, exist to safeguard our very species. With powers beyond comprehension, their mysterious existence is marked by reincarnation, emerging anew after each demise. Following grueling civil wars, the Eternals chose a path of harmony and self-improvement, exemplified by their ability to converge into the formidable Unimind. This collective consciousness showcased their immense potential when united. Spanning epochs, they constructed magnificent cities, including Olympia, their current haven. A peculiar connection with the Olympian gods once saw them as Earth's divine representatives, forging an extraordinary alliance. Yet, turmoil always plagued them, eventually leading to madness and self-destruction. Now resurrected and slowly finding their way back to tranquility, these ancient superheroes persevere to this day. And number 3 is Martian Manhunter. The Martian Manhunter, also known as John Johns, is one of the last living members of the Martian race, and one of the oldest characters in DC Comics. His age is estimated to be north of 225 million years, an unimaginable span considering human lifespans. John Johns only made it to Earth recently thanks to a failed experiment, but he had been living in isolation on Mars for untold eons. A calamity about 1 million years ago wiped out nearly their entire civilization, leaving him as a solitary sentinel of his kind. His shape-shifting abilities, telepathy, and superhuman strength make him a formidable force, and his longevity adds to his aura of invincibility. At number 2 is Red Sonja. Originating as a supporting character in Conan Barbarian series, Red Sonja swiftly rose to prominence on account of her unwavering resolve and unmatched swordsmanship. With a tragic past as her backdrop, she swore vengeance and embarked on a relentless quest for justice. Marvel Comics chronicled her adventures until 1986, followed by Dynamite Entertainment's ongoing run. Red Sonja's story underwent transformations, notably in a 2013 reboot, emphasizing empowerment and skill development. Nevertheless, her iconic red hair and distinctive scale mail armor endure as her trademarks, showcasing her formidable presence. Red Sonja's indomitable spirit, exceptional sword skills, and enduring legacy solidify her position among ancient superheroes who are truly unstoppable, etching her name into the annals of legend. And at number 1 is Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman's age is indeed a perplexing matter, much like the enigmatic depths of the multiverse itself. Within the vast tapestry of DC Comics, Diana's age appears to be in constant flux, as if she's a paradoxical embodiment of both youth and antiquity. Her lineage traces back to the mythical realm of Greek gods, suggesting a timeless existence. Yet some narratives attempt to reconcile her age with historical events, placing her birth amidst the ancient Amazonians in 12,000 BC. Now, the cinematic adaptation further complicates matters, proposing a staggering age of 5,000 years. In this kaleidoscope of diverging timelines, Wonder Woman becomes a symbol of agelessness. These characters serve as timeless inspiration, urging us to search for greatness and overcome any obstacle in our path. So, as we conclude this journey, remember that the spirit of these ancient superheroes lives on within us, and we too have the power to be unstoppable in our own unique ways.